Hey guys, it is good to see you. Well, we can't actually see you because you're on it's just my phone. False alarm, guys. Hey guys, tonight we're going to be talking about the golden rule, and so we're excited about that. This is something that almost everyone is familiar with, those that are Christian and those are not. And so you probably learned this back in school, but did you know that it was Jesus who actually made the golden rule? And so we have a long list of things that we already covered in the Sermon on the Mount, and so we've been continuing the message on the Sermon on the Mount, and so let's begin in Matthew chapter 7, verse 12 through 14. Sarah, if you'd like to read that.
Okay. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter by the narrow gate. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter it by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is harder that leads to life, and those who find it are few.
All right, so Jesus likes saying things and teachings of the day and then turning them on its head. And so he did this with multiple things, including loving your neighbor and hating your enemies, turning it to loving your neighbor and loving your enemies and even praying for them. And he also did this with authority, showing that a leader is one who serves. He showed people that it was not either or with tax and giving to God, but that we do both because both is due. And so similarly, even with the golden rule, Jesus actually made this out of an existing teaching, which was, the saying was, don't do to others what you wouldn't want them to do to you. And so the saying was originally negative, telling people to avoid doing bad things because you wouldn't want those bad things to happen to you. And so Jesus, he takes this negative teaching and he turns it into a positive saying. So instead of not doing bad things to others, we are actively doing good things to others as well. So things that we would want for ourselves if we were them. And so by making this saying positive, Jesus got rid of the excuse for others just to sit it out. And just to sit idly by and say, well, I'm not doing anything bad, so I'm good. I'm not doing anything bad to them that I wouldn't want to be done bad to me. But when Jesus says, do to others as we would have them do to us, Jesus is telling us that we need to actively do things to other people. So when you have friends, maybe at school, obviously right now, not with COVID, but you have a friend sitting at a table by themselves, maybe someone will pick on that kid, and it's like, well, you're not going to do that because you wouldn't want that to happen to you, but maybe you walk by and you see that they're all alone and you might not do anything, but maybe you realize you could do something, that you could actually go next to them and sit next to them because you would want the same to happen if you were there as well. And so because Jesus turned out on a positive statement, the negative holds true as well. And so it's both negative and positive. We need to be actively doing good and we need to avoid doing bad. And I love just the principle of the golden rule. It's not like Jesus do this, this, and this. It's basically how would you want to be treated? In any given situation, it's literally the rule that can apply to any situation. It's the most applicable rule that I know. It's not in this situation do this, but it's in any situation at all. Simply, how would you honestly want to be treated? When you think of all the things that are going on in this world and with tension and with things like that and with all these things, when you want to think about the other side, just think about how would I want to be treated? And then treat them that way. That's honestly the best thing to do. So we're going to answer a few questions back and forth here. So Sarah, what do you think is the hardest thing about the golden rule?
I think the hardest thing about the golden rule is using the golden rule even with people that you don't necessarily get along with or like.
Yeah, I think it can be hard to put ourselves in their shoes sometimes. When we think that they're already wrong, and because they're wrong, that they deserve less treatment. But what about when we're wrong? Mm-hmm. Don't we want to be treated fairly even when we're wrong and when we don't know any better? So yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. I think in my life, and I think of sometimes people on the opposing side, whether that's opposing religion or opposing politics or opposing sports team or opposing friends group or opposing family, there's a family member or another family feud that's going on, it's always easy to demonize the other side and basically say that, well, their feelings don't actually count because they're wrong or, because I don't like them. But the reality is that their feelings do count, and we need to actually think about how they feel and how we would want to be treated if we were them. You want to ask me this one?
Yeah. What do you think is the easiest thing about the golden rule?
It's golden. I was just teasing Sarah. I was earlier about all the colors. I was like, it's a golden rule, but there's other rules. No, it's I would say the easiest thing about the golden rule is that, well, like I said earlier, that's applicable. But the fact that you think about what do you want? Like how would you want to be treated? And you know what? And it may not even be perfect because you think of the love languages, and maybe let's just say for someone, maybe they really like to get gifts. That's a love language. And maybe someone else doesn't like gifts, but they don't know that, and so they think, well, how would they want to be treated? And so they buy them gifts. Even that, which isn't perfect, just the simple fact of giving a gift, just the fact of, hey, it's the thought that counts, and you're actually trying to do something right. So even when that doesn't work out, when what you want is different than what I want, but I'm still trying to treat you positively, that in itself can change the world. Mm-hmm. In reality, we wouldn't need any laws if we actually just all had the golden rule and we just simply followed that. Of any law that you would think, you're not going to steal from someone else or from a company because you would know that's not how you would want to be treated as well. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think is the easiest thing. Do you want to answer that one? Nope. Oh, okay. So continuing on with that, so after we read that section, you're probably like, well, why is Jesus talking about gates after he talks about the golden rule? So not Bill Gates, but Jesus talks about two gates, the wide gate and the narrow gate, and what they mean. So Sarah, you want to talk about what the gates mean, or do you want to read Matthew 7:13-14? You already read it. It's just you reading it.
I'll read it.
All right.
Matthew 7:13-14 says, "For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." So
there are two gates that Jesus is talking about here. Okay, so one is a wide gate and one is a narrow gate. Wide gate. All right, so one is a really wide gate and the other one's a narrow gate. There's two gates, and the wide gate is really easy. Okay, it's also really easy to find because it's large and it's really wide, so a lot of people can go through. Well, you'll see why in a moment. And it's really easy, so it's really easy to get through. And Jesus says that many people are entering this gate, though it leads to destruction. And so we know what that means, that it's leading to hell. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going through that. And then Jesus says that the narrow gate, so it's not as easy to find, the narrow gate is really hard to get through. And few people are entering it, though it leads to life, which is heaven. And so, Sarah, why do you think Jesus has the golden rule next to his lesson on the two gates?
I think because the golden rule can be hard to practice and not everyone does it. And so he's kind of talking about who just goes with the flow and who takes, the hard way but the right way in life. Yeah, I really like that, what Sarah said, going with the flow, because when you think about if everyone's going in this direction and that's the easy way and everyone's like basically falling off this cliff and that's going with the flow, but Jesus is letting us know very clearly that going with the flow in life is not going to get you to heaven. That does not get you to heaven, going with the flow. It's the narrow gate, going against what the majority of people are doing and saying, I'm going to live my life for Jesus. It's going to be more difficult than that. It's going to be harder to find than that. It's the narrow gate. Few people are entering it, but I'm going to live my life this way. And so it's easy just to do what you want and not treat others with respect in the way that you would want to be treated. And so the thing that sticks out to me the most when I was studying all this was the closing of Jesus' words on the narrow gate that leads to life. This is what he says. And those who find it are few. Like, just reading that, and this is the wide gate, this is the narrow gate, and when he gets to the narrow gate, now it leads to life, and he says, and those who find it are few. So how do those words make you feel? And those who find it are few. It's alarming, to think, not that many people are gonna make it,
Yeah. I think a lot of people are 98% of everyone's going to make it because we're all good, and then there's just the really, really, really bad people, and that's not what heaven and hell is about. It's if you have a relationship with Jesus. It's not about rules and regulations and trying to outweigh your goods and your bads. It's about asking Jesus to come in your life and him taking the place because he took our sins to the cross. And so it makes me feel pretty bad. It really stings. Those words sting for me. It makes me realize that the reason many are not going through the narrow gate is that few have actually found it. And so sometimes I think we can be quick for blaming people for living a lifestyle that's wrong, when many times they have simply yet to find the right way. We could blame all the people going through the wide gate, when in reality, the narrow gate that's hard to find, a lot of them haven't actually found it. Some of them have, and they walked by it realizing and saying, that is a hard choice in life, but I'm going to live my life and I'm going to do what I want and whatever makes me happy. And the wide gate is whatever makes you happy. That's honestly what the wide gate is. Doesn't mean you can't have happiness in the narrow gate, but the narrow gate leads to life. And so a lot of people have not found the right way. And I know so many stories of people that have come to Jesus and they found the narrow gate, and they say that when they accepted Jesus into the heart, it was the first time that they'd ever actually heard the good news. That they had not found the narrow gate before. And so I think there is an important thing with having the golden rule next to the gate. I think it helps us realize how we would want to be treated if we were the people on the other gate. Wouldn't we want them? If I was on the wide gate and I'm like, I'm living my life and this is easy, but if this wasn't actually going to lead me to life and it was going to lead me to destruction, would I not want someone to tell me about it? Would I not want someone to show me the way? And so if we combine the golden rule with how we felt about the two gates, and we helped others find the narrow gate, just as we want others to help us show us the way. And so I want to end with this for you guys. I want you guys to end with this thought and to be thinking this over. I normally like to end this with a question. So Sarah, do you want to read this question to them?
How can I apply the golden rule in my life?
That's that. How can I apply the golden rule in my life? Ask yourself that question honestly. Take an honest, hard look at that. Maybe you are already applying it in your life. Maybe you are in some areas, or maybe you're not. Maybe there's someone in your life that you haven't been treating the way that you would actually really want to be treated. Regardless of the situation, this rule can be applied anywhere. So think about that as we end tonight. How can I apply the golden rule in my life? Well, if you guys have any questions on anything, or if you need any more prayer, please talk to us. We miss you guys, and have a good night.